All right, we're live. This is Forrest out in St. Louis over at the Challenge Lifestyle Network. Really appreciate you guys joining us. I have Mr. Clark Bartram. That's correct, right, Clark? Saying your last name correct?
You got it.
All right. Also known as America's most trusted fitness professional here joining us tonight. If you're catching this again on previews, on a replay, make sure you drop any comments or questions in. We'll definitely get those answered for you. We're going to take a few minutes to get this syndicated out across all the networks. And I'm going to drop, Clark, I'm going to drop you a link in here so we can get this. Let me refresh my Facebook page over here. And where's my link at? We'll get this going. Welcome. Please comment and share, love and like. Let everybody know what's going on here. Again, welcome to the Challenge Lifestyle Network Challenge Pro Trainer Series. This is our very first guest, so welcome, Clark, your very first guest in this series of training. We got hopefully we'll launch this. We've got it going all over. I think our next interview is going to happen down in Mexico City, Mexico, which is going to be exciting. I don't speak Spanish, so we'll see how that one pulls off here. It looks like here I've got my phone. It looks like it's syndicating out across all those channels now, so we'll give it a few minutes to get going. So, Clark, while we're waiting everybody to join us, you married, have kids? What's your...
Yes, I'm married 28 years, and I have two children, and they're all in Ecuador right now. I'm actually looking at photos of them in Ecuador while I'm sitting here by myself talking to you.
Awesome.
My family's off in Ecuador.
That sounds exciting. I don't know if I know anybody in Ecuador. But be a cool place to go. Hey, welcome, Bobby. Welcome, Devon. Thanks for joining us. Make sure you love, like, and share this. Share this to all your peeps. Really appreciate you guys jumping in there. Yes, Mexico next week, Devon. I can show you some of the cool things. I don't know. Have you used BeLive before, Clark?
I have not.
Pretty cool app. I can do neat stuff like drop a comment in there and it just says there's Bobby Nicholson. He says, love this. I don't know if you can see that.
Yeah.
So people make comments. I can go in and I can share them up on the screen so that we can both see them, which is really, really neat. So as you guys join us, make sure you're telling us where. Devon, you're not in Mexico. She put that she's in Mexico. I know she's not in Mexico. Hey, Brandon, what's going on? Welcome, sir. Thank you. I know you're somewhere driving around in your motor coach. The country. How's the wife and kids doing? Good to see you guys. Thanks for joining us. Really appreciate you guys. Yeah, this is really cool, Brandon. Really love it. Brandon is one of my good friends, Clark. I did him an interview about 3 or 4 weeks ago. He's what I call the millionaire maker. Really awesome guy. Has a wife and a billion kids, and they travel around the world and travel around the country right now in a big motor coach doing all their cool stuff. So quite the lifestyle guy there. Awesome guy. So what time we got here? It is 8:03. We'll just get just about another minute here, then we'll get going into the question. So you said in Ecuador, huh?
Yes.
They down there? You said they're down there visiting family, or are they on a missions trip, or what? I'm being nosy. You don't have to share if you don't want to.
No, that's fine. My son's down there actually trying to get his Spanish on point. He's teaching kindergarten. And my family decided they just wanted to jump in a plane and go down and see him. So I travel so much that I was not able to go with them, but they've been having a great time down there. It rains a lot in Quito, Ecuador, so they're dealing with a little tropical climate.
Right on. That's cool. Ecuador. Let me see. Get my spelling on here. I'm just being a bad host today. Now I'm supposed to have any silence going on there. It's like I can't talk and type at the same time. Come on. Let me try this. Does everybody still hear me okay? Can somebody just do a thumbs up or a yes, we can hear you? I'm not sure if my screen froze up. Clark, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, you're good.
Okay, cool. We'll go ahead and get started. Thank you. We'll go ahead and get started. Welcome everybody to tonight's broadcast. This is the Challenge Pro Trainer Series. I've got Mr. Clark Bartram here as an interview tonight as our first interviewer for this series. Absolutely appreciate you guys. So Clark, tell me, one, thanks for taking time out of your day to join me. Just so you guys know, I've never met Clark before until I sent him a message on Facebook and asked him if he would do this interview. And to my surprise, he said yes. He's got some real cool stuff going out there as a fitness trainer. He's got some real cool exercise gear, some things like that going on. So I'll let him, if he wants to talk about that, he can. But Clark, so tell me your story. How did you get started as a fitness professional? And let's highlight some of the key points to sort of travel through your life a little bit, and tell us where you started and how you ended up, and maybe some highlights of your life and sort of what's going on with you.
Well, we could be here all night. With that, my career's lasted over 30 years. I've been very fortunate to make an entire living off of my physique and the way I look and my ability to communicate. So I feel very fortunate to be in the position I am. And it all started very innocently back in the 80s. Someone convinced me to do a bodybuilding contest when I really didn't want to. They looked at me, they said, "Hey, you have a really good physique." And I didn't really know what that meant. You know what I mean? I knew I looked good. I knew I was very athletic. I knew I had abs. But in relation to what they were talking about, I wasn't real familiar with the entire world. I knew who Arnold Schwarzenegger was, of course. I've seen Muscle and Fitness magazine and all that. But I jumped in a bodybuilding contest and ended up winning the whole thing in the open class. And from that, I started taking notice of, what was going on around me at bodybuilding shows. And one day I saw a photographer taking pictures of this guy backstage, very good looking guy and very fit. Obviously, he was in a bodybuilding contest. But when I recognized them clamoring over this guy, I thought to myself, what is it that he's got that I don't? And the answer was absolutely nothing. So it was then that I decided I wanted to pursue what became a career in fitness, which at the time, fitness modeling didn't exist. There were bodybuilders who got into shape for photos, and that was that. So early on in my career, I decided that I was going to be the guy that was always in shape and ready to go in the event somebody wasn't ready, who they may have chosen over me. So that really quickly became my calling card, and guys called me up as a second or third choice oftentimes for covers when the first guy wasn't ready, because they were a bodybuilder that was only ready to be shot, photographed a few times a year at best. So I really honed in on that, and I thought to myself, I'm always going to be ready in the event. And it's played out very well for me over the years. So, multitude of covers, and then that parlayed into my own television show after I was on a very popular show on ESPN for years called Kiana's Flex Appeal. Did that for a while, then ended up getting my own show after that, and then that turned into opportunities on QVC and Home Shopping Network and spokesperson gigs and movies. And so I've made an entire career off of my physical prowess.
That is absolutely awesome. Thanks a lot for sharing all that. And I saw one of your taglines. You're known as America's most trusted fitness professional. How did you get that label, that tag, or that motto? How did you end up with that?
Yeah, well, a lot of what I say is going to sound very, when you're doing an interview, you run the risk of sounding arrogant or cocky or conceited or whatever, but there are certain facts that we have to confess about our careers, and I don't want anyone to take it as me being cocky or arrogant, simply the truth about where I was in the industry and where the industry was at the time. So there was no one really branding themselves then. I, early in my career, sat down with a marketing specialist, and we started talking about how to create a brand. There really never was much of a branded person in fitness. And then he started asking me all of the key questions. So what is it about yourself, Clark, that you think is very unique and very special, and that has some merit to it? And I said, well, you can trust me. So he wrote it down. And then he started asking me, how much of an impact did I want to have? You want to be bigger than your town? Do you want to be bigger than California? How much of an impact do you want to have? I'm like, man, I want to affect the world, right? So we looked at these comments and statements that were made, and we came up with this tagline of America's most trusted. At the time, it was personality. And then someone came along and said, Clark, you're much more than a personality. You're a professional. So I altered the tagline to come up with America's Most Trusted Fitness Professional, because it is who I am. It is what I stand for. If I tell you I'm going to do something, I'm going to be here. If I think it's very important that we are people of our word. So that is how I created my brand. That is how I created in industry, really, in this whole fitness modeling category that didn't exist back when I started. So, it's interesting you asked me that, because one day my son asked me that question when he was young. He said, Daddy, are you really America's most trusted fitness professional? And I said, absolutely. He said, why? And I said, because I said so. And that's really what branding is. It's what you see in something and you bring that to the forefront so people very clearly know what it is that they're getting when they engage with whatever it is. If it's a car, if it's a person, if it's a school, you have to know in a very simple phrase what it is that they're going to be getting. And that tagline is held true for 25 years now. I've had that.
Awesome. So basically, it sounds like to me that you took something that's on the inside of you, sort of a dream, a vision, maybe a passion, and put it out there. And then you of course, once you put it out there, like you said,
I'm not hearing you too well.
How am I doing now?
Needs to go up a little bit. It's my volume. It was good, and then all of a sudden
You said it dropped off. Let's see.
Yeah, it's I'm not sure what happened here.
Let me check this really quick. Do I just need to talk louder, possibly?
No, you were fine until something happened.
Okay, because I can hear you fine on my end. Is anybody else?
I'm okay if I listen closely.
Okay. So what I was talking about, branding yourself and living up to your internal passion. So you had a passion for fitness. You wanted to be the most trusted fitness person. So you sort of have to live your brand, live your model, live your passion. So you're not just talking about it, but you're actually walking your talk. There's a phrase that I like to say: you can't save your butt and your face at the same time. So when you're putting yourself out there, you have to walk that talk. What as a fitness professional, what would you tell someone brand new that's just breaking into the industry? What's the most important thing that they can do, or what's a tip that you might give them as launching towards their brand or getting started as a fitness professional?
Lose the entitlement attitude because you got a nice ass or abs or you're pretty. People think that the world owes them something because they're the big fish in their little gym. Fitness is a business. If you conduct it properly, you can make money in this industry. But if you approach it like you're the next big thing, you're going to be run over and spit out because they're a dime a dozen. I'm not the tallest guy in the world. I'm 5'8". I'm not the best looking guy in the world. I'm not the most ripped guy in the world, but I am very structured in how I approach my life and how I approach my business. And from day one, I was very set on conducting myself as a business, and doing that has only served me well because people want to do business with good business people, not people with an entitlement attitude who complain all the time, who take breaks because they got to have their meal in 2 hours, who show up late, who show up with friends and an entourage and stop every 2 minutes to take a selfie and post it on Instagram. This is a business, and you're not out to waste anybody's time. It is about serving your client and giving them more than what they paid for. And in my experience and what I've seen with a lot of these people coming up these days is they think because they have X amount of followers on Instagram that they're special, and they're not. They're not.
I really love that, serving your client. So coming from a place of having a servant heart, a servant attitude, basically doing more for the client than you're looking to get for yourself. And we know, and I know on my team and our business on our side, is that we know as long as we serve others, we're going to benefit from that. So what is one thing that we can do as a new person getting started in the fitness industry? How do we get away from the sort of the self-serving attitude and move into a servant heart? Or how do we adopt that attitude? Is it, would you recommend a mentor? Is there a book that they would read? How do they get away from that?
Well, mentors are always good, and it's somebody who's been there and done that and has had longevity. And I think checking your ego at the door is probably the biggest thing that people need to do, because again, what happens is, and it's easy for this to happen, when you're in your gym and you're posing and you're doing your thing and these average people are walking in, and I say average in the sense that they're not fitness professionals, they're business people, they're people from the streets, they're coming in the gym and they're looking over and they're seeing this girl doing her poses or this guy flexing in the mirror, and they're intrigued by that and they're impressed by that. And then you notice all of this and your ego starts getting bigger and you start thinking that you're more special than you should. And then you walk into a professional environment where these people are used to seeing people like you and better. And they're like, okay, I'm not sure why you're acting this way, but you know, this is a photo shoot and you're here for a reason. People need to understand that they're a commodity. A fitness model is a commodity. They're being paid to do a service, and they can very easily be replaced. So you have to understand that when you walk into an environment, the minute you go beyond the threshold of the door of the person who's hired you, you're now their possession. You're there to do what they ask you to do, within reason, obviously, right? But it needs to be done in such a way. And here's the problem that we have today. The problem we have today is what we're doing right now is social media. When someone walks into a photo shoot, I guarantee you 8 times out of 10, they're live on Facebook or they're on Snapchat or they're doing something and they're showing everybody. So the proper introductions aren't made. A proper handshake isn't made. A look in the eye. And all of the things that we should have as a baseline are lost because we're so caught up with our fans. And it really is kind of a frustrating thing for me to see because, you know, not everyone's like this, but the majority of people that you see in these environments are. So the people that have hired them are there kind of waiting for them to finish their BS and get on to business. And I see it all the time. So check your ego at the door, understand that you're a commodity, you're being paid to do a service, and have a mentor for sure to help get your head on straight before you go there. You know, I have people call me all the time and say, hey, Clark, I'm going to do a photo shoot with this and that. What should I expect? Or I have a negotiation coming up. How should I approach this? Because I've pretty much done nearly everything in this industry, and I've seen a lot happen. So a lot of really successful fitness models have called me as their mentor and said, how should I negotiate this deal? And when I give them information, they're like, I never thought of that, because I think bigger picture than most people think. They want instant money right away, but I'm more of a like chess player when I approach things.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much for that. Mr. Vaughn here says, check it before you wreck it. That's a really good one, and that's one of the things that we've noticed in social media nowadays, especially with all the younger kids. The young people seem to they're stuck in their phones, they're stuck on social media, they don't know how to communicate, they don't know how to shake hands. So in that light, what is one thing that stands out to you that you wish you could go back and maybe change differently or do something differently, and why?
You know, as I look back on my career, I really have no regrets at all, other than, and this is me being completely transparent and open and honest, because there are a lot of people who are in relationships that are in this industry we call fitness. And it's a very dark and ugly industry if you let it be. So one thing that I did wrong is probably didn't include my wife as much as I should have, because I was fearful of her shutting down my mojo and my style and my, flirtiness that you need to have when you're on photo shoots. So that made her feel bad. That made her wonder what was going on. That made us have issues from time to time that weren't necessarily something that should have happened if I would have been more open, if I would have been more willing to let her be engaged in this and not fearful of her shutting me down and not allowing me to do what I do. Now, there are certain shoots that she wouldn't want to go on, but there were certain things that I could have invited her on that I didn't. So I think it's very important for people in relationships to understand how to navigate this industry with respecting your significant other, because it will chew you up and spit you out, man. People will have you doing stuff and acting ways. And listen, When you're taking a photo, it's fun in the moment and things are happening. But once that thing is snapped, it's frozen in time and it will live on the internet forever. And then your kids will see it, your spouse will see it, your in-laws will see it. Everybody's going to see it and go, whoa. And you just got caught up in the moment and thought to yourself when you left, I wish I wouldn't have took that picture. So consider your other half when you're doing whatever it is that you're doing.
Absolutely. Awesome advice. One of my long time ago mentors once told me, she said, never share your money, never share your product, and never share your spouse. And never do anything by yourself that you wouldn't do with your spouse. So that's really good advice. I really appreciate that. So we talked a little bit about video and social media a little bit earlier. Video and social media are key components in business today. We know that. How do you feel that they impact business, and why do you feel they are important as a growth vehicle or a growth impact using video and social media?
Oh, it's huge. People's attention span is this big. So anything that you write is going to be glossed over, but anything that you say, and if you say it the right way and you emote properly and you have the right personality, people are going to engage. And that is what our job is to get people to engage. Whether you're sitting on the cover of a magazine, whether you're on a video, whether you're in front of an audience, our job is to get people to engage and hear the message or buy the product or join the gym or whatever it is that we're promoting. So video is huge, and that is something that I've constantly required that people that I work with get good on, is being in front of a video camera, and people absolutely freeze in front of a video camera. This thing can't do nothing to me, but the minute it turns on, people just shut down like it's going to reach out and choke them to death or something. And I help people on camera a lot. One thing that is huge, and you could go back and rewind this thing, you won't hear me say once. When people are on camera, count the amount of times they say these pause words, these words that are there because they're not confident in what they're saying or doing. They're not confident in the subject matter that they're talking about. They're not confident in themselves, and they're afraid to take a pause. They're afraid that people are going to think, I'm stupid. But a pause like that is very powerful. So if people understand, and that's what I used to do. I used to sit back and go, and at the end of someone speaking, they're like, what is that? And I'm like, you said 5 times. And they're like, oh, I didn't know that. Go back and watch the tape. So that is vital, because if you are a spokesperson, that means you need to speak. Most fitness models pose in front of a camera like they do on stage, so it is much bigger than they allow it to be, therefore limiting themselves in their opportunities within the industry. My phone is blown up.
I appreciate that comment. And as a coach, we're just about wrapped up here. And again, I really appreciate you guys coming in. If you're joining us live and you're catching this broadcast out on LinkedIn or Twitter, you're catching us on replay, make sure you drop any questions in here for Clark that you might have. Share this, love this, and like this with all your friends and family and everybody else. I really appreciate you for being here. So as a coach, what is one thing you encourage your clients to do on a daily basis to remain healthy?
I would say to remain healthy physically or mentally, or in what way?
Whatever you want to talk about.
I think loving yourself really is what it comes down to, and not in a narcissistic way. This industry is full of narcissists, right? We're all narcissistic to a degree, and we have to be. But you have to have a fine balance between that lust for yourself, and that's really what it is. Lusting over your body and the abs, and therefore you put yourself through some really weird stuff. If you have a shift in your thinking, and if you have a shift in the way you approach your life, and you really love yourself, because here's the reality. A lot of people in this industry are doing it because they don't love themselves. They're doing it because they're fearful of the true self that is in them. Now, I'm speaking in general terms, of course, but I know for a fact from conversations with many people in this industry that they have a very low self-esteem. So their esteem comes from all of the likes. Their esteem comes from all of the comments. Their esteem comes from all of the followers that they get, even if they pay for them. There's this false sense of security and love that many people have as a result of being in this industry and being given a a pseudo love. It's not real. It's phony. You take 10 million followers and you might know one of them, but when you're no longer cool, 10 million of those people are going to go away. Who's left? You. So that's what I really encourage people to do, is just get up each day and appreciate who you are at the core, and then let all that peripheral stuff take care of itself, and don't get too caught up in it, because it can absolutely run you down.
I appreciate that. Thank you very, very much. So love yourself. Really, really good, very good idea. And do you have any closing thoughts? Anything that you'd just like to share with us? One, I really wanted to say I appreciate you very, very much for taking time. Hopefully I get a chance to know you a lot better. Appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule to join us tonight. You had just information I had no idea where you're coming from. So this is invaluable. I'm going to replay it. I really love this. I really appreciate you. So any closing thoughts that you'd like to share with just anything? I mean, it can be personal, it can be physical, it can be businesses. Any closing thoughts you'd like to share with everybody?
What comes to my mind as you were saying that is, to whom much is given, much is required. And I'm not trying to get biblical or scriptural or anything, but here's the reality. There are a lot of people who look at those of us who are in this industry, and they look at us with such high regard, and they're using us as a role model to aspire to be something. So when you have an opportunity, when someone reaches out to you, please don't ever, again, buy into your own BS, buy into your own false media that's being surrounded by you, but take the time to reach out to these people, because you never, ever know who it is on the other side of that phone. You never know what they're dealing with. There are a lot of weirdos out there. There are a lot of people out there that are trying to take our time and do weird things. You know how to separate those people from the people that you just don't want to get back to. I have so many friends who are very popular, and they are very shocked by the fact that I get back to everybody who reaches out to me. Even the people who say rude comments, I comment back and say, I appreciate what you said, but that is not me. I am not that guy. Please respect who I am. And it always works out well. People want to be recognized. People want to be heard. We're in a position to recognize and hear people. And if we don't, it is rude to me in a way, because you've been given this platform for a reason. So as a guy who's done this for 30 years and holds this tagline of America's most trusted fitness professional very dearly, be that person. Be that person who reaches out and gives that person who's reaching out to you just a little bit of your time, because it goes a long way.
I appreciate that. And what, just so people can connect with you, where would be a good place for them to connect? On Facebook? Do you have a website? If somebody had questions about, just wanted to reach out to you and have general questions on how to get started in the industry and had industry questions, what's the best way to communicate with you?
My website's an easy way. It's just clarkbartram.com. There's a request form on there. If you have questions or whatever, you submit it, and I typically get back to people. And some people just I'm forewarning that if somebody emails me and says, hey, I want to pick your brain, I will email them back and say, very good that you want to pick my brain, but my time is worth money. So that's another thing that fitness models need to understand. At some point in your career, you need to understand how to monetize your time. And I've been and done this long enough. I have enough of a resume to allow me to justify monetizing my time. So when people reach out to me and say, hey, can you give me a call? I just want to pick your brain. I separate the time wasters from the people who really want to invest and say it's $150 for an hour to talk to me, and then I will give you all the information you need, because if it's valuable information to them, they should pay for my time if they respect my time. If they don't, I say, hi, it was good to know you. And I try not to feel bad, because I usually feel bad, but I'm learning how to set boundaries in my life so I don't give my time away to everybody that asks for it.
So just to make sure, I think I spelled your name right here. I'm going to pop that up there. Does that look like the right URL?
Yes.
All right. Thank you very much. So I'm going to keep this out. Like I said, I try to keep these interviews, and we're right at just running up on a half an hour. So I'm going to leave it open. I don't know if anybody out there has one or two quick questions. If you're open to questions and answers, I don't want to keep you very long, Clark. Again, I really appreciate your time, especially for jumping on, not knowing me, and taking this interview. It means a ton to me, and my heart goes out to you, and I love you for that. I appreciate you for jumping on and doing that. Do you have any, unless there's some questions that pops up here, we're going to go ahead and shut this down, you guys. I really appreciate you guys check out Clark's website. He's got a lot of cool stuff going on in the fitness world. Really appreciate you, Clark. Much love to your family. Are there any questions you have for me, sir, before we jump off of here?
No, I just appreciate you. I wish you all the best, and I hope this does what you dreamed it would do.
I'm being a little bit spiritual. I'm turning over to God and letting it go in its place and just chasing my passion and hoping it all works out again. I really appreciate you guys. Bobby has one quick question here. Let's see, I'm going to pop it up on the screen there. It says, when starting as a personal trainer, what would be the first tip for them? We sort of talked about this earlier, Bobby, but Clark, if you got a second, you want to answer that, I appreciate it.
Be in shape. Be a person who practices what you preach. Pretty simple.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Thank you, Bobby, for the question. I really appreciate that. Clark, I really appreciate you guys. And this is Forrest out in St. Louis with the Challenge Lifestyle Network and the Challenge Pro Trainer Series with Mr. Clark Bartram. Really, thank you, sir. I love you, and there's absolutely nothing you can do about it. We'll see you on the next broadcast.
See ya.